Hey friends, welcome back to Jenny Food and My Kitchen. A couple weeks ago, I shared with you my chocolate zucchini bread recipe. It happens to be my husband's favorite and really the only way he will eat zucchini. It is pretty good. If you haven't seen that video, you should check it out. Today, I'm going to share with you another zucchini recipe. Why? Because my family stopped by this weekend and they brought me some of their abundance. So now I have zucchini for days and I'm looking for recipes to use up. Of course, I'm going to be doing some baking, but I also thought I would make something kind of savory, kind of cheesy, and something I could eat for either breakfast or lunch. I mean, let's be honest, I will be the only one that eats this in this house, but sometimes that's not a bad thing. Let's make this. Let's talk ingredients. I have 4 cups of zucchini, a half a cup of panko breadcrumbs. I have 3/4 of a cup of feta. I wish I would have had a cup, but I have slightly less than I thought I would, so we'll just go with that. I have a half a cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 medium to large onion, a half a teaspoon of oregano, a full teaspoon of dried dill, a teaspoon of garlic, salt, pepper, 3 eggs, and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. First of all, we are going to go ahead and chop our onion. Now, I went ahead and I already cut up that zucchini because I wasn't sure how many zucchinis I was going to need. And the ones that I still have on the back counter here are kind of large, and I prefer to use those for baking versus like this kind of a dish. So I would have run to the store if I needed more zucchini, but I had actually just enough of a smaller zucchini that had more of that lighter green, not so kind of dark and matte. This one was actually more of a shiny zucchini. So we have 4 cups of sliced zucchini. Now to that, I am going to go ahead and I am just going to give this kind of more of a rough dice. It doesn't have to be, I don't want it to be like super duper small. I don't want it to be large, but because it's going to bake off pretty well. But I'm also not looking for like little strips either. So just kind of a large dice. And we are going to, my oven is preheating right now to 400. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put these in a bowl. All right, I've got all of our zucchini and our onions right in a bowl here. Now I am just going to drizzle a couple tablespoons. I'm not going to measure, but just like 1, maybe 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I'm going to go in with the hand measurements. It's 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and I'm usually pretty close. All right, we have our garlic powder, and then a teaspoon of dill as well. Now, I thought that I had more fresh dill. I must have used it completely on my dinner that I did this weekend, but I want about a teaspoon of dried dill. If I was using fresh, I would use a tablespoon of fresh chopped dill, which actually I would prefer, but I must have used it all. And then we have, I'm just going to add like a half a teaspoon of oregano. I always think oregano tastes beautiful alongside dill and garlic. And then we're just going to go in with some salt and pepper. Just going to salt it a little bit. That seems good. And then we'll give it a little cracked pepper. And with my clean hands, which I think are your #1 tool in the kitchen, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to get everything coated with that olive oil and that seasoning. And then we are going to go ahead and put this on a tray and give this kind of a pre-cook, a little bit of a roast. All right. And then I kind of sprayed this pan. I'm just going to go and dump those out onto that tray. And then we're just going to give this a little bit of a head start and roast this at 400 degrees for about 12 to 13 minutes. So we'll get that done. All right, while that roasts off, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix the rest of our ingredients right into this bowl. was one zucchini that got left out. 3 eggs. That's a big one. And then a half a cup of panko. And actually, I usually use gluten-free panko because I prefer the Pico Man gluten-free panko. I use that for all of our chicken nuggets and the things that we fry here just because of my granddaughter. Today, these are regular. She's camping this week, so it's not a big deal. And like I said, I'm going to be the only one that is eating this dish. So, and then I have our feta cheese. And then the Parmesan cheese, I'm going to only add about half of this into our egg mixture. I'm just going to go in and kind of grab half of that. And then the rest of that, I am going to put on the top of it, actually. So with all of that in the bowl, I'm just going to kind of whisk that together. Like that. And then once our zucchini is ready, we will go ahead and kind of gently fold those in and then put it in our pie shell and bake it. Easy peasy. I love those kind of recipes. Our zucchini and onions are slightly cooled, not as hot as they were coming out of the oven. So I am just going to go ahead and I am going to add that right into that bowl. Now, I added a 4th egg to that. The texture of it looked like it needed an extra egg. So I went ahead and I just did that extra egg. So now I am going to go ahead and I'm folding all of this together, kind of gently-ish. I'm just going to give our deep dish pie plate, a little bit of avocado oil on the bottom so that nothing will stick. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump all of that right into the pan. And that looks like it was the perfect amount of zucchini. And then we're just going to, go ahead and kind of spread that out. And between the eggs and the breadcrumbs, that should kind of come out sort of thick like a piece of pie, almost like a quiche, but not quite. A little less eggier than a quiche. But it smells like it's going to be delicious. So lastly, we will just go ahead and I will sprinkle this Parmesan cheese all over the top. I wish I had more feta. But next time, if this turns out to be really good, next time I will make sure to have the correct amount of feta. So, all right, all my Parmesan is on there. Now, I turned my oven down to 375. We're going to go ahead and bake this off at 375. I'm going to check it in like 40 to 45 minutes. So I'll see you back here. Friends, would you look at that? Doesn't that look so good? I cannot wait to dive into this. All right, I'm going to cut myself a piece. And this took about 35 minutes. I came in and checked that at 35 minutes. And it was completely cooked through. So I just went ahead and took it out at 35 minutes. So I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. And then, it's still hot. Can you see that steam? Doesn't that look good? It smells so good. It's very warm. But as you can see, I put a hot pan on. My hot pans are kind of very loved and used. As you can see, that came out of that pie shell very clean. It's still very warm. But let's go ahead and give this a taste. Cool it off just a little bit. Wow. That is really good. I think, I mean, it is very delicious. That Parmesan cheese kind of saved the flavor, I think. I really wish I would have had a little more feta and fresh dill. That would take this to like perfection. But in a pinch, using what I had on hand, using dried dill and just using, you know, even though I was a little shy. Sorry, I keep tasting this. It's delicious. This is really something. This will be, it's kind of, I mean, it almost has like the texture of a quiche. But kind of like that, if you remember when I was a kid, my mom used to make impossible pie with Bisquick. It kind of has that sort of texture, but a great way to use up zucchini. I would say this is a winning recipe. I would just use the fresh dill and the entire cup of feta, I think, the next time I make it. But as you can see, I'm kind of like downing this one piece. It's really good. And I really like this because I did not have to shop for these ingredients. This is stuff that I had on hand pretty much all the time. I keep all those ingredients, so that's a win-win for me. Alright friends, I guess that's it. If you like this recipe, go ahead and give this video a like. Leave a kind comment if you have the opportunity, and we will see you next time. Bye for now, friends.